session will be held following the acknowledgement of Broken Hill mining history, to hear submissions from the public on matters listed for consideration at this meeting, and to also hear submissions on general matters, and the other public forum session will be held prior to the confidential matters, and will consider submissions from the public on matters considered by council at this meeting only. All councillors undertook an oath of affirmation at the beginning of their term of office and declared to undertake the duties of office of councillor in the best interest of the people of Broken Hill local government area and the city of Broken Hill, that they will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in them under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of their ability and judgment. The council meeting is being live streamed via YouTube and recorded and published on via council's website. To those present in the meeting today, by participating in the public meeting, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. The Mayor and/or General Manager have the authority to pause the live stream if comments or debate are considered defamatory or otherwise inappropriate for publishing. Participants are advised that they may be subject to legal action if they engage in unlawful behaviour or commentary. We have nil apologies and nil leave of absence. I call on Councillor Boland for the prayer.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Almighty God, we ask you to invoke your blessing upon this council, direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement and true welfare of the people of the council area, our state and Australia. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Councillor Gallagher.
Yes, I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet today, the Winnicalli people, and pay our respect to those elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Allgate.
We take time to reflect, remember and honour the over 800 miners that lost their lives and those that were crippled or maimed on the line of load. We thank the brave miners and their wives who were part of the 1919-1920 strike that lasted over 500 days and delivered a 35-hour working week. Mining is our past and our future.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate. Public session. Forum session. The first public forum session of 15 minutes will consider submissions from the public regarding matters listed for consideration at this meeting and also general matters. The public have been advised through notices in the Barrier Truth and on Council's website to register by 4 p.m. today if they wish to address Council during the public session. Forum session. Members of the public who have registered to address council will be given preference, and then if the time permits, anyone else present in the gallery may address council. Speakers are allocated 2 minutes to address council. We have received one registration prior to the deadline. Mr. Scott Deary, the progress of upgrade at the council soccer grounds. Would you like to go to the microphone, Mr. Deary?
Nice and easy. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yep, thanks. Evening, Mayor, councillors and council staff. Obviously, wrote a bit of a letter here, and to try and get it in 2 minutes, is going to have to condense some stuff. Yeah, I'm Scott Deary, Vice President on the junior board.
Just one sec. So your letter's going to be more than a couple of minutes, you reckon? It doesn't matter. I'll just because I'll give you more time. Is there any other speakers that wish to speak in the public gallery? Yep. Just one. So you finish your letter. You can have more than 2 minutes. That's all right.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. So as Vice President Junior Association, I'm here on behalf of the Broken Hill Soccer Association and Junior Association and the soccer community members. Council-owned facility at the soccer grounds required fixing of cooking equipment to be replaced at the canteen due to the age and non-repairable statuses of the equipment. As this is a facility is the council's assets, discussions were held with council staff to gain relevant information and understand the responsibilities of also council and the soccer association in meeting the needs of the equipment, of the fixed equipment. That happened late last year. We had a meeting with council's own environmental health officer at the canteen facility in January, and we went through the food safety requirements for the canteen and was then advised that the canteen was non-compliant and unable to be utilised until minimum standards were achieved. Council did not have a lot of available staffing at the time to assist council with the process of replacing equipment. Members from the Soccer Association board source quotes, had current plans drawn up and revised drafts to those plans to ensure the food safety compliances. All documents, quotes, plans and required information was sent to council to help streamline the process and understand of our requirements that were needed. As we're also known at this stage, I believe that maybe someone could help me out, that still it's maybe under a capital works project, that generally the councillors, if there's any variations to funding or allocation of funds, that would need to be approved by the councillors themselves. And we were trying to aim to maybe put that in aspect for probably sitting at a earlier time than what is now, as we have been following the meetings. I'm just also following up as regards to the stakeholder engagement process for council in reference to the canteen and the soccer grounds, which we believe has been minimal. There has been a lack of communication to the board members, which results in clubs and members being unable to be updated adequately to the process of all this to happen. The clubs have been unable to use the canteen, and with that, it's had a reduction in sales and figures, because that's the biggest fundraising that soccer clubs in general have in that process of being able to fund stuff. Council is always, or has been aware of for a long time, that the South Australian Soccer Championships will be held in Broken Hill in September. The soccer competition brings in excess of 56 teams, officials, referees, and support staff, totaling around 2,000 people across the weekend, which is great for the town and trying to showcase our juniors and the town itself. A non-functioning kitchen impacts raising funds to cover costs associated with the championships. And it's also an image to Broken Hill, and more specifically onto the council and the Broken Hill City Council. We are requesting an update on the progress and information from council as to what stage that the process of the kitchen refurbishment is currently at. And are there any planned steps to provide a fully functioning kitchen for the soccer community? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deary. I can answer some of those, and I'm sure the General Manager would like to have a bit of a comment as well. Our council is very appreciative of the work that the soccer does, and soccer is very important to the Broken Hill community. As for community engagement, the soccer has a lease agreement with the Broken Hill City Council. So under the lease agreement, soccer's virtually in control of what happens down at that facility. But council, of course, is more than happy to help wherever possible. Like all canteens and all food preparing areas around the city, they have to meet the requirements of council's health and building code. So that must be taken into account. Council's always kept the president of the Broken Hill Soccer Association informed. The president is quite aware that councils are waiting for a number of quotes to actually carry out that work. As for councillors agreeing to fund that, that's already done. That's part of the normal works and normal maintenance repairs that the council would do. So this is one of those things where council officers are trying to facilitate it as quickly as possible to make sure that the canteen is up and running as soon as it can. Anyone in town would know how hard it is to get the qualified people to actually carry out work at this stage, or even get people to give quotes. So there's some of the things that council face, as do other businesses around the community. As for it taking a long time, I might pass over to the General Manager because he does have a bit of a brief on the background and exactly when council was first informed about this.
Thanks, Mayor Tom. Just obviously just a progress update in that regard. As the Mayor mentioned, it is still working through some of the quotes. We are appreciative of the quotes that the Soccer Association did provide us for the equipment. But as yourself, Mr. Deary, and the Mayor have mentioned, obviously, to keep up with the environmental health guidelines, we've had to go a step further there and look at a full refurbishment to ensure that we include the stainless steel benches, sealing of all the in-canteen area, and bringing the electrical switchboards up to standard. So we're just working through those quotes and processes at this stage. We're fully aware that the upgrade has to occur before September, and that's one of the priorities that we're working towards. So that is in the progress, and council's asset officers have been keeping in contact with the president of the Soccer Association to ensure that he's kept up to date with the progress. So the communication should be there as well. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, General Manager. Yes, Ali. Just if you could say your name for the recording.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm Ali Cooch from the Patton Village Association. Just got a comment regarding report number, it's page 97. Report number 8923. Proposal to rename the South Community Centre, the Fred Jobson Community Centre. In recommendation number 4, says to be advertised with signage and at property. And also in the local newspaper for comment for 21 days. Just requesting it's also placed on council's website for electronic submissions.
Oh, you'd like it, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a problem, is it? No, that's fine. Yeah. Any other speakers? No, I go on to minutes for confirmation. We have a mover for the minutes.
Move that Mayor Kennedy with an amendment.
Yes, Councillor Hickey.
Yeah, so that amendment be made to page 16 of the minutes, document of 26th of April 2023, council meeting minute number 47199, relating to the confidential report, item 21, Broken Hill City Council report number 6623, dated March 6th, 2023, cemetery operations, public exhibition of council's intention to grant a waiver of interment right fee for a vacant grave at the Broken Hill Cemetery. That items 2 and 4 of minute number 47199 be amended to correct the location of the grave in question as being in Presbyterian D, row 12, grave 13.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. So councillors, what's in the business paper, it says row 11. So instead of row 11, it'll be row 12. We have a seconder for that. Seconded,
Second that,
Councillor
mate.
Gallagher. Any speakers to the minutes? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Disclosures of interest. Do any councillors have any disclosures of interest? Councillor Turley?
I wondered that. What would
There
it
was
be?
something that you, it was something
was in
about
the- I
the
think it
local
was in-
government.
I think that
Right.
was in the extraordinary meeting.
Right,
Not
yeah.
in this
Yeah,
meeting.
no worries. Thank you. Move on to mayoral minute. Mayoral minute, number 1, item 1, that mayoral minute be dated May 23, 2023 be received. That council writes to the Broken Hill federal and state members, along with the federal and shadow ministers of health, requesting that the Far West region be exempt from the 60-day dispensing pharmaceutical benefit schemes, PBS medicines. The council writes to the Broken Hill federal and state members, along with the federal and shadow ministers for health, requesting that Broken Hill be reclassified category 6, MM6, under the modified Monash model. Have a seconder for that.
Second that.
This is an important one. We all want to make sure we've got cheaper medicine, particularly for the community. But the main users of who are going to benefit most are the people that are infrequent users. Some of the people that already hit their federal limit and start having it paid for, that won't help them at all. Some of the concerns that were raised by the pharmacies in town is the 60-day dispensing could actually cause harm to people, because some of those people that get that already struggle to make sure that they some people with confusion and memory loss. It also could result in extra overdoses deliberately or accidentally. It also could result in a reduction in the people employed. The other concern that the pharmacists have is because we don't have good access to medication in Broken Hill, the 60-day dispensing could leave a shortage for other users altogether. They don't carry the same amount of stock as some of the bigger cities. So for these reasons, I was happy to support the pharmacy representatives when they come to council with the concerns. Do we have any speakers against?
Mr. Mayor, I understand and absolutely support my local pharmacy, but I have great concerns. Now, I support item 3, but I can't support the motion as is. And that's because the report last year into rural remote health showed us that the more remote we are, the greater complex health systems we have. Most people in our community, apart from really having poor health, and anybody handing out how to votes can see how unhealthy our community is, most of those with complex health systems, for which there are has been reported are the highest in the state, are not receiving one, but receiving 5 or more medications. It will be a benefit to them in any way of saving money. Now, as I said, I could support this motion if item 2 was withdrawn, because I do believe that we should be considered reclassified. But with this motion in there, I think there's an opportunity to save money for those with chronic disease, for those that are elderly, for those with disability, and for every one of us living in a rural remote community. We have already been told we have a lower life expectation and that we have high chronic disease. And as such, unfortunately, I can't support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Turley. Just for the benefit of councillors who just some of the written material that was compiled in this mayoral minute, while it appears to be a positive move in theory, closer inspection of the savings will reveal that the most vulnerable patients and concession card holders will save just $43 per year for medicines. If a patient takes more than 3 PS medications, then the amount of savings is reduce even further for that patient. So below 43. For those that take, including their spouse, take 6 medications combined, there is actually no savings whatsoever. The most amount of savings that anyone's going to get from the 60-day dispensing are customers without a concession card, and they may save up to $180 per year if they use enough of the medications. These modest savings also be considered against the impact. While larger metropolitan chains may be able to absorb the cuts to disbursement fees, the impact on smaller regional pharmacists and the service smaller customer base and operate on a much smaller budget will be far greater. I have no doubt that the new scheme will result in the cutting of opening hours and job losses at pharmacies in regional communities such as Broken Hill. This potential for loss of service and employment would far outweigh the small savings, which is at best $180 for non-concession holders, as low as $43 for concession holders, or a maximum of 43, but below that as the amount of medications you take go up, because once you've hit the limit, you no longer pay at all. There's also great concerns that the 60-day or receiving 60-day stockpiles of medicine, while this will offer an element of convenience for some customers, it will also increase the risk of suicide, accidental overdose, and lost and wasted of prescriptions, which has been already happening with the 28 days for the pharmacists. It is particularly dangerous for those that are confused or suffering from dementia. So for me, it's a really important one. It's one that I can see the merits, but for Broken Hill, and at some stage it may be able to be implemented in a safe and effective way. But at the moment, you must go with the people that know more than what I know, that's for sure. And if you have pharmacists coming in, meeting with you and telling them that you exactly what's going to happen, to ignore that advice would be wrong. Councillor Gallagher, you'd like to speak?
Yeah, I like to support the motion as it was in as it was written. Having someone who knows a little bit, not myself knowing anything about pharmacies, someone who has worked in the pharmacy industry in my family can know and know my profession previously. We do dispense, they do destroy medications quite regularly. And these are the reasons why. They have it used by date, must be used by that date. If we give it to some other person, give it to some other country to use them those days, but you can't do that. I fully support the motion as is, and I think I'll leave that as that.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher.
Just one other thing, as
Yep.
that brings us into another regional area, remote areas like Alice Springs and other areas like Broken Hill is.
Yeah, the Monash number 6 model, category 6, really important. We found out just recently we've already moved there for the NDIS, and it's important that we move there for aged care and pharmaceuticals. Councillor Aldgate.
Just a comment in support of the motion, Mayor Kennedy. Just on a personal basis, I'd be no different than lots of others, older people. Not frequently, but occasionally, I can't even get all of my medications for 1 month, let alone 2 months. Sometimes have to wait 1 or 2 days, normally no longer than 2 days. But if they're having trouble keeping stock for a particular medicine for 1 month, what's it going to be like when it's 2 months?
Exactly. Any further speakers? All those in, Councillor Boland.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. It just seems to be a knee-jerk reaction from the government who wants to penny pinch and save a small amount of money at the detriment of regional communities. Again, I note that Lithgow and Singleton are classed as MM4, same as Broken Hill. One's 150 kilometres from Sydney, other one's 80 kilometres from Newcastle. They can get medication a lot easier. I think we need to look at it an overall holistic approach. If our pharmacists locally are forced to hold more medication, that makes them more of a risk for certain aspects of society and a danger to and puts their staff in danger as well. And obviously we've spoken about the overdoses, people that are forgetful and confused and obviously have other medical issues. I've spoken myself to a few pharmacists that put up a good case on why this just won't work, and I support the motion 100%. It just seems to be the federal government wanting to save a small bit of money to the detriment of local communities and local pharmacists, which in remote communities a lot of times function as a de facto GP clinic in areas where there is no GP.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Just a matter of interest, the savings made from the 60-day dispensing cycle matches the exact increase that was applied to Medicare bulk billing. So for me, it seems like the government had to save money for bulk billing, and unfortunately it comes straight from the pharmaceutical scheme. All those in favour? Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Boland, Councillor Aldgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler, Councillor Hickey and myself against, Councillor Page, Councillor Turley and Councillor Brown. Thank you, councillors. Supplementary agenda number 1 is a mayoral minute. The mayoral minute dated May 29, 2023 be received that Deputy Mayor Hickey's delegates report regarding the country mayor's meeting held 26th of May 2023 be received and noted that council contacts the relevant shadow minister to follow up with the new government, any previous government committed allocations for council Broken Hill projects. We have a seconder for that. Second, Councillor Aldgate. Councillor Hickey, you'd like to speak to your report?
Thanks, Mayor Kennedy. I will read the report out. Thank you for the opportunity to represent Broken Hill Council at the recent Country Mayors Association at Parliament House on 26th of May. The meeting was well attended with most councillors being represented. The current Labor government was represented by the Honourable Rose Jackson, Minister for Water, Housing and Homelessness, and the Honourable Jenny Atchison, Minister for Roads, along with several other senior staffers. The opposition was well represented by Leader Dougal Saunders, Shadow Minister Sam Faraway, Bonnie Taylor, Kevin Anderson, Steph Cook, Gurmeet Singh and Wendy Tuckerman. In her opening address, Honourable Rose Jackson spoke of the drastic housing shortage throughout the state, said she was very impressed by Broken Hill's very intuitive thinking to develop a multi-storey essential workers accommodation. She acknowledged my presence, said that it was this type of thinking and project that she will fully support, which is great news for Broken Hill. There was a lot of talk of the recent motions to legislate against privatisation of Greater Sydney Water. However, it doesn't extend to the rest of the state at this stage. Minister Jenny Atchison spoke of the problems of fixing roads. However, I'm not sure if she has ventured over the Great Dividing Range, as she only spoke of the northern rivers and metro areas. The Shadow Minister spoke strongly of the support they are offering all councils in following up on any problems with the government delivering on the previous government's committed allocations for projects. They have advised councils to immediately contact them for assistance, and this could be the case with our telecommunications tower at the racecourse. Newcastle and Wollongong had both requested to become members of councils, member councils of the Country Mayors Association, align themselves with the LG New South Wales boundaries for country and city. However, a vote of members saw this motion defeated and the non-inclusion of Newcastle and Wollongong as their agendas are far too apart from the majority of country councils. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Councillor Higgie. Do we have any other speakers? Councillor Turley?
Just not a speaker, but thank you for the report, Deputy Mayor Hickey. And I just would suggest you might want to meet with the ministers around our projects. I think that would, I mean, I know you've got shadow ministers, but I think that, you know, we've got some incredible projects in the play, and it may be good for you to include ministers as well as shadow ministers if you're happy to accept the amendment.
What was the amendment? Hang on, sorry.
Just to include ministers and shadow ministers.
Oh, do we have, Council yeah, nice. Yeah, that is
Because
should be, yeah,
otherwise-
no, it should be ministers. as
Yeah,
well.
because otherwise what's happening is that going to a shadow minister that's just going to have a fight.
Yeah.
We don't want to fight. We want a resolution and a commitment from government.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I might just add a number 4 there as well, that we contact Minister Rose Jackson, invite her to Broken Hill, and also thank her for mentioning Broken Hill at the Mayor's Conference. Yeah, look, Councillor Brown. Yep.
Yeah, I just want to make the point that actually Jenny Aitchison has been to Broken Hill 4 or 5 times at least. So she
Would you-
knows Broken Hill well.
You'd like her invited as well, Councillor Brown?
Well, yes,
Where she's very-
invitations, of course.
Could
I'm
we
sure
just,
she'd like to come again,
add
but
that,
she has
Rose?
been here a number of times.
Rose Jackson and Jenny. Look, I think it just shows how much ground Broken Hill is making when we have ministers, newly elected ministers, actually mentioning Broken Hill at these forums. It just goes to show you that the multi-storey building that we're contemplating at the old Iceworks site to house teachers, health professionals and police really has a very good chance to be funded by the government from all 3 departments. I do believe that there was other departments in the government interested in being part of that project. So this is something that could really put Broken Hill on the map and be used all over the state as a pilot. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. There's nil notices of motion, nil rescission motions, nil reports from delegates other than the one passed through the mayoral minute. And we'll move on to Works Committee. Item number 1 is the correspondence from the Menindee Fish Kill event. Do we have a mover for the recommendation or some motion?
Move the recommendation.
Move the recommendation, Councillor Allgate. We have a seconder for that. Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Chandler. Would you like to speak to that, councillor Allgate?
Not really. The fact that there is a move to have an inquiry is, is encouraging. I don't believe that the inquiries always achieve what they're supposed to set out to do, but at least the recommendation covers the way we feel.
Definitely, councillor Allgate. Any further speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 2 is the minutes of the Project Consultative Group Project Steering Committee. Do we have a mover for that?
Move that.
Councillor Allgate, seconded. Councillor Jewett. Councillor Allgate.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with the full recommendations, and I think this is one of the best reports I've read for some time. It gives the public an idea of exactly what the council's doing and at what stage the projects are in. It tells the people who are responsible for the various units within the report, and councillors know exactly what's going on. It's a good report. There's a lot of content in it, and in terms of all of the council projects, it's very informative.
Thank you, councillor Allgate. Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 3 is the minutes of the Picton Oval Sports Ground Community Committee. Mover?
Move that way.
Councillor Gallagher, seconded. Councillor Boland. Councillor Gallagher, you'd like to speak to that?
Just quickly, it's a good report, but as long as we can get those signs fixed up at the Picton Oval, that's a bit of a bone of contention for the committee. They do look after that oval quite well, the caretakers, and if we get those signs up as soon as we can, it'd be fantastic.
Would you like a number 3 there, just that it be noted?
Yes.
About the signs?
Yeah, just the signs for people who don't know. It's just the dogs off leash, run around the oval quite regularly, and the little athletes that use the oval have to sort of do an obstacle course sometimes to fulfil their obligations. Thank you.
Just noted in the recommendation. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Health and Building Committee, item number 1 is correspondence, access to Australian National Database and Archives, Trove. You have a move of that? Councillor Brown, you'd like to move that one? Seconded. Councillor Turley. Councillor Brown, you'd like to speak to that?
Only to say, Mr Mayor, that it's very good news. I think there was a outpouring of protest at the idea that Trove might be discontinued or it's free access. So I think this is really good. Obviously, our motion to the National General Assembly, won't be needed. I don't know. I suppose they'll just sort of say that that's no longer relevant, but it's a really good thing.
Might be relevant in the future, so probably keep on going. Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Funding to maintain and upgrade historical graves at the local cemetery. We have a mover for that?
I'll move that way.
Move Councillor Gallagher, seconded Councillor Brown.
Yep.
Councillor Gallagher.
Yes, I welcome the response from the Minister in relation to the historical graves. As we all know, in Broken Hill, it's a bit of a place that people do like to go to. We have Percy Brookfield and so forth out there. It's good to see that they bring up they're going to fund areas so we can actually upgrade it. And I commend this report.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Brown.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'd certainly support those words, but I would like to move an amendment that the points 1, 2 and 3 be accepted, but also that we add point number 4, that we investigate the establishment of a 355 committee to look after the cemetery. I'm afraid I haven't kind of
No. So
thought of some words, but I have spoken to you about this
Yeah,
before.
yeah. So you might be happy with this one. Councillor Hickey was also bringing up a similar one, and see if you like this one, Councillor Brown. And sorry to interrupt you because,
That's all right.
yep.
Thanks, Mayor Kennedy. I had that the council consider a cemetery working party be set up and that it be referred back to the Health and Building to determine the terms of reference of such a organisation.
You happy with that, councillor?
Well, I'd like to see it maybe expanded a bit because.
No, I mean, so just taking it back to the environmental committees to actually
But yeah,
decide what we want.
because I'm also thinking of promoting the heritage aspect. I think one of the pieces of correspondence, it's
Yeah.
probably this one does suggest that we have a better chance of getting funding if it is actually on the heritage database. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I mean, it is one of our most important heritage assets. So it's not, I mean, it's Works Committee, but it's not just a matter of putting out weeds. It's a matter of
No,
the
so.
whole heritage aspect of
So
it.
the number 4 was to go back because I would like to see all the graves actually also the unnamed marks or graves also marked and things like that. So what Councillor Hickey's talking about is to take it back to the committee for a terms of reference, what the group would actually be, rather than just move it tonight and have a committee.
Oh, yeah,
meeting.
well, I'm only proposing that we sort of
Yeah.
have a look because I haven't really, thought the details through anyway. It needs to be thought
So
through quite carefully. So
So at number 4, you're happy to say that we are at our next environmental committee that we look at forming a committee with the following with terms of reference for the cemetery.
what environmental?
Our
work-
standing committee. Health and
The-
building.
The health and building,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, standing committee. So then we can have all a bit more input into actually what we want. Yeah. Any speakers on that? I'd just briefly like to say, look, I think everyone acknowledges just how important the cemetery is, not just to the council and the councillors, but to the community as a whole. I've been contacted by 4 or 5 people this week who actually do work out at the cemetery, and they do it at their own take their own trailer out, pick up weeds, do just around their immediate family's graves. So they'd like to be involved in not just cleaning those graves, but also look to repair and maintain some of the graves that have fallen into disrepute. They actually cleaned up one grave they thought no longer existed, but it was actually just completely covered by weeds, and they found a grave that someone was looking for. So they're the sorts of things I'm sure that all councillors have been spoken to about by the community. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Policy in general, item number 1 is correspondence, the new requirements for the aged care facilities. We have a mover for that.
Move the recommendation.
Councillor Allgate, seconded. Councillor Jewett. Councillor Allgate.
Oh, nothing much to offer in terms of the report, except to say that the report that these recommendations were formulated on seem to be very sound, and whilst the expectations of the new laws applying to aged care facilities is great, they're not feasible in the short term. In the time that's given to accommodate all these different moves, it's just not going to happen. So applying for an extension is the logical thing, the sensible thing to do.
Yeah, do we have anyone else like to speak on that? Yeah, look, becoming part of the modified Monash model number 6 more reflects of what we do in Broken Hill. We are currently in the same category as Goulburn, Nowra, Bathurst, much larger populations, and they're only a couple of hours from Sydney or Canberra. So we really need to be categorised the exact same way as places like Alice Springs and the like, as opposed to Bathurst. And I don't know why we are in that category. I don't know how anyone doesn't believe that Broken Hill is remote. Our closest place to us is Mildura, and it's still only a relatively small place. Councillor Page?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The aged care system for the last 20 to 30 years has got worse it's a bloody disgrace. And the structure of it, the way it's set up, it's just doesn't make sense. It's I know people in this room have experience. You know, you can have a very ill person in your home caring for that person, and the cost involved getting the care for that person. A lot of people are forced to keep that family member in their own house, and the federal government should hang their head in shame. They find billions of dollars to send away on foreign aid, and they can't even look after the elderly in their own country. There's a lot of other areas where the federal government are finding money to spend on wars and foreign aid, and there's a long list of things that are not happening, which should be happening for the well-being of the people, younger people, middle-aged and aged care. It's shameful what's happening in this country.
Too true. Any other speakers? Councillor Jewett?
Yeah, I was just wondering, is this the classification you're referring to earlier when we were talking about the pharmaceutical, but that's been?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're considered the same as Nowra, Goulburn or Bathurst, as opposed to similar places of our size and remoteness like
Right.
Alice Springs.
Yeah. Okay, so we haven't heard anything back on that one yet.
No. Any other, Councillor Boland?
Mayor Kennedy, maybe if we ask some of these politicians to come out to Broken Hill, we'll drop them off in the middle of Argent Street and request they find their own way back to Sydney or Canberra. Maybe they'll find out how remote we are.
We might have to do that, Councillor Boland. They might get as far as the Imperial Lake.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a
Councillor
comment? The
Page.
politicians we're referring to wouldn't know what day it is. In regard to aged care, they're elected into a job and they don't understand what the problems are. So, and that's, I've been around for a long 74 years, mate, and what I've seen of the local, I'll rephrase, not say local, but the federal and a lot of the state members, they're elected in there, they're voted in, and they don't know what the job entails. And a lot of the times they couldn't care less.
All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 2 is funding for a bariatric ambulance for Broken Hill. Have a mover for that?
Move that way.
Move Councillor Gallagher, seconded. Councillor Chandler, Councillor Gallagher.
Yeah, I commend this correspondence, as we spoke about it the other day. And previously, we've waited days for people to go home in relation from the hospital to be transported around. This is going to be an asset to Broken Hill and will bring us up maybe to the 21st century.
Yes, I think they may have checked out that it was taking weeks to get these people home. It wasn't a quick thing. Yeah. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 3 is annual fees for mayors and councillors. We have a mover for that.
Move the recommendation 1, 2, 3 and 5 and add a recommendation 6 that we ask the community through
That's already there.
Is it?
Councillor. Yep. On mine, is it? Yeah.
on mine, is it?
Yeah, please.
My apologies.
Yeah,
It's
you
not
got it
on
on there
mine.
last time, Councillor Boland.
Yeah, my apologies. It's not on mine. I'll put that down to the Telstra issues because I've only got items 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 5. So
Right. We
I
have
will
a
move the recommendation as
seconder
on
for
your
that.
paperwork.
Councillor Gallagher, you'd like to speak to that, Councillor Boland?
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I think it's very important that we ask the community. Ultimately, they're our bosses, and if they think we're doing a good job and we deserve a pay rise, they'll let us know. If they want us to work a little bit harder, they'll let us know. Or if the cost of living pressures is getting quite high for all, they may say, you know what, we love the job you're doing, but please keep the fees the same, as we are all suffering through living or cost of living expenses. But ultimately, I think it needs to go to the community and they will let us know.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Councillor Turley.
Mr. Mayor, could you also include social media and our local paper? So where it says the community poll be conducted and advertised in the next community newsletter, I think we should put it a bit wider than that to make sure. I mean, I know that you've had a great commitment to community engagement, But I think it would be important that we actually do go wider for that consultation.
Yes, look, the mover, do you have any problem with that?
No, the wider it is, the better it is.
Seconder, do you have any problem with the note?
No, I think it's a great idea.
No, look, I agree. This council was committed to including the community in some of those important things, and I don't think that councillors should be sitting in judgment themselves and pay rises. I think it's much more appropriate that the community does, and I'm sure councillors would be more than happy to accept whatever the result is. I have no doubt that as the surveys conducted around the town about council's performance, I'm hearing a lot of positive feedback when it comes to the performance of council, councillors, council staff and management. So I'm sure that we're going to get a good feedback. I hope people judge on the way they'd like to be judged. Councillor Brown.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm sure you'd be aware of my objections, but I have a question. Since the community, the survey has recently been announced. Now, I think, are you intending that this be part of that? You're going to judge the response to that community survey that's been conducted by the external consulting firm that's been in the recent media release with this, because I suspect that people are going to be confused about that. Was that your intention?
Councillor Boland, your intention or separate?
I'd like to see it separate, because I'm thinking if that organisation did it, there'll be an increased cost to council. So it would be costing council money to ask the community if councillors deserve a pay rise or an increase in fees, whereas if we do it online through our newsletter, et cetera, it's already budgeted in.
So what are you suggesting in the newsletter? A tear off voting slip or a QR code for online voting? So you could either online or bring it in person?
Yeah, all of the above. I think the
It's not
more
compulsory for people to vote, but if they are interested, they'll take the time.
Yeah, and I think the more wider it is, some people will use the QR code, others will tear it off and bring it in. And as Councillor Turley said, advertise on Facebook, social media, the paper, all that kind of stuff. But I think the newsletter is already budgeted for. It's well read, it's well supported, and I think that's the best way. We start using consultants, will just cost council money to ask the community if we deserve increases in fees.
Yeah. So for you, Councillor Brown, I think Councillor Boland's suggestion is that it's two separate things. One's the survey, the other thing is separately on the pay rise itself.
Well, time will tell if it's confusing or not. Am I able to make a
Yeah,
comment?
yeah, for sure.
Speak against. I'm a bit concerned that I have concerns for a number of reasons about this, but I think the fact that this is a recommendation. The recommendation as to the suggested pay range for councillors in various classes of councils is one made by an external body, and it's not based at all on, whether any of the councils are doing a good job or not. I suspect that they don't look at that kind of information when they see it's based on the responsibilities for those councils. So I suppose the size of the budget, it's not an individual report card. So my question is, so if you're just asking people if the councillors deserve a 3.5% pay increase, which is the recommendation of the tribunal, it really covers a lot of information that we have, that people could have, I suppose, if they check out the business paper online. But I suspect that people won't do it. So it's really grossly oversimplifying the whole question, and I think you just want to make it into some sort of a popularity contest, but it's kind of trivializing an important thing. I know I make these points every year, and I suspect I know what the decision will be, but I think it is important that people maybe have a bit more information before they're just asked to say yes or no based on, I suppose, their impression of what the council's been doing.
Yep. I'm sure that part of the information will be the councillor band wage in that, which is in the middle, not at the lowest, not at the highest. So it's 3% of what we currently earn, not 3% of the highest amount. Any other speakers? Councillor Allgate?
I'll just speak in favour of the resolution. I agree with Councillor Boland. I personally have never agreed with or never believed that the council itself should make a decision to reward itself with increases or otherwise. We shouldn't be judging ourselves. There should be some external body. Okay, the tribunal has made this wide sweeping decision that councillors deserve a 3% increase. At the end of the day, it should be the public, I believe, the rating public should be able to give an opportunity to say whether the council is acceptable and deserves a rise or not. I don't think I should be voting on whether I get a rise or not. I've always voted against, and that's well recorded. But if the community think we we're worthy of a rise, that's fine. If they think we're not worthy of a rise, that's still fine. But I don't think we should be making a decision to give ourselves extra money.
Just so everyone does understand the argument of Councillor Brown. Councillor Brown's argument was that the external body recommended a 3% increase. Councillor Brown's also argument was that councillors continue to go backwards in the band of being paid. Councillors' counter argument was that the external body, if they're going to make these recommendations, should also pass the recommendations and not put them onto councillors and put them in the position where they're approving their own pay rise. So they're the arguments. Councillors Boland's suggested to resolve that issue. We put it out to the community and get their say so. All those in favour? Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Page, Councillor Boland, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler, Councillor Hickey and Mayor Kennedy. Against, Councillor Turley, Councillor Page. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Councillor Page. Councillor Turley and Councillor Brown. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, that was a bit rough, wasn't it, Ron? Yeah. Item number 4, re-establishment of the Central Business District alcohol-free zone. Do we have a mover for that?
I'll move that way.
Councillor Brown, seconded Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Brown, you'd like to speak to that?
This is another one that's been a long time coming. I know Mr. Don Moody was really hoping to be here tonight, but he's got.
No, this is the alcohol-free zone.
Sorry, apologies.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've still moved
My
that, but you can
apologies.
speak on that one as well, Councillor Brown.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with the recommendation on that.
No worries. Councillor Gallagher?
Yeah, it's good to see the alcohol-free zones are there for certain reasons, for the free flow of traffic in the CBD and so forth. Although some people might say it's a bit of a toothless tiger, but the situation is it's the same as every other regional council, every other area, and it's good to see that we're going to continue to do that for another period of time.
Yes, it might help to some degree with homelessness and drinking in the public areas. All those councillors in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillor Brown, you'd like to move item number 5?
Yes, thank you.
Seconder, Councillor Allgate. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, my apologies for that, Mr. Mayor. I was
No.
a bit anxious. Yes, Mr. Moody was very sorry not to be able to come tonight. He was intending to come and speak about it and say how pleased he was at this decision. It's something he's been working on for many years. Unfortunately, he's got COVID, so he can't. But I'm sure he would not mind his name being mentioned as one of the probably the chief instigator of this, because I know he's been on, he's made many attempts to have Fred Jobson's name remembered with something, and he's suggested various things over the years. So he's extremely happy, I can tell you.
I could imagine so. Any other councillors speak to it? Councillor Allgate?
Yeah, I think it's a good move. And like Councillor Brown has said, Don Moody approached me on several occasions at council functions. And when this application came before the committee, it was well received by all. I suppose, like some older people in the town, I had the pleasure of working at the zinc mine when Fred Jobson was also an employee there, and he was the convener of the conveyor and Orbits, I think it was as well, or it was the Orbits and the conveyor. But he was an icon in the town at the time. And I always remember, and I've often wondered, there used to be in the old museum, which is now the Tech College, there used to be, as you walked in the front door of the original museum, there was a model of underground workings, and a magnificent model that I think Fred Jobson had a hand in building or designing. The last I heard of it, it was in a shed out at the cemetery, out at the airport. Sorry, and in quite a dilapidated way. I always remember that was one of the most eye-catching demonstrations of what underground is like. That particular model, a cube, about a metre cube, with levels, and trucks and all the rest of it. It'd be great if we could locate that again. But Fred Jobson, I think most people have heard of him. I think he designed the original council emblem, crest.
Oh.
And I've often said we should still have that crest across all units of the council.
Councillor Page?
Yes, Mayor Kennedy, everything I was about to say, Councillor Allgate said it before me. So every time I thought I had a little bit more history to add to it, you covered it. But Don Moody never gave up on Jobson, and I'm glad Don Moody's pushed it to the stage where it's being adopted tonight. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and everyone that's made kind words about Don Moody and Jobson. It's big part of our history. And yes, I'm a great believer it should be on every council letterhead, every council vehicle, like it used to back in your day and my day.
Councillor Brown, you happy to include social media in that recommendation? Seconded, who was the seconder? Yep. Thank you. Yes, every school kid knew that underground model, Bob. Every school kid knew that underground model. Yeah. Yeah. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 6, quarterly budget review statement for the period ending March 31.
Move that way.
Councillor Boland, seconded. Councillor Allgate. Councillor Boland.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I was having a read through it. I had to walk out of my office for a bit because my eyes went a bit cross-eyed. So congratulations to CFO for a very well-written, detailed report. She's tough conditions right now, and that's shown in the budget, but looking forward, it's looking positive. The city's looking positive. Of course, we know there's been massive blowouts in certain projects due to inflation and interest rates and stuff well out of our control. But I believe that this council and the CFO and his team and all the council team have certainly got this period well under wraps, and we're heading in the right direction. And again, congratulations on a really good, well put together report.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Any other councillors? No, thank you. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 7 is investment report for April 23. Mover,
Move that way.
councillor Boland, seconded,
Second. that way.
councillor Gallagher, councillor Boland.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Again, reading through this report, good to see that we're taking use or with the funds under term deposits, using the higher interest rates might be hitting us in some other areas, but it's good to see that we've got some money invested in the term deposits and pulling away from the shares as such and getting that good return from the interest rates.
Excellent. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Move on to further reports. Item number 1, correspondence, funding to maintain and upgrade historical graves at the local cemetery. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Brown, seconded councillor Gallagher. Councillor Brown.
I wondered why this item sort of keeps popping up in every section of council. I think it's 2 or 3 times we have more or less a similar thing. I certainly move it. I mean, I've said how important it is that we get that and we try and get some more funding for that. And hopefully we've got a way to do that. But so I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Yeah, so just for the information of councillors, that correspondence come in after the committee meeting. So it couldn't go into the report that was passed by the committee meeting. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 2, new requirements for aged care facilities. Correspondence again. Do we have a mover for that?
Move that way.
Move councillor Gallagher, seconded. Councillor Allgate, councillor Gallagher.
I think as all discussed earlier, it's good
Yeah.
to see what we're going to do, and I commend the minister, commend this correspondence.
Yeah, just goes to show you that everyone's a little bit concerned about it. Well, not a little bit, a lot concerned about it. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 3, draft revised civic and ceremonial functions and representation policy. We have a mover for that. Item number, councillor Brown.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move slightly different recommendations.
Yeah.
So point 1, but a new item 2.
Yeah,
That the draft revised civic and ceremonial functions policy be put on a public display, for 30 days, or just the usual wording for that. I don't think the commentary does say it's the changes are sort of cosmetic and not very significant, but I think they are significant certainly for some people. And I think it should be on public display for 30 days.
do you have a second for that, councillor Brown? Yes, councillor Turley. What's the recommendation? You'd like to speak to that, councillor Brown?
Yes, I'm referring particularly to the items that refer to the Aboriginal community of Broken Hill, because they are affected by a couple of clauses there relating to welcome to country and so forth, and those things. Also have some questions about civic, the range of things that are now classed as civic events. That's a sort of a separate question, but it's not clear to me if renaming some of these things. I'm not sure what a civic event is going to cover.
Okay.
That's a question that's I don't know that it's clear from the policy, but my main concern is that we need a bit of time for this one, for the public to be aware of that, of the draft policy.
Any further speakers?
Mayor Kennedy, I'd like to move that we go back to the recommendation.
So you move
Exactly as an amendment to that
Recommendation.
recommendation.
Do you have a
We
second
go
for
back to
that, councillor Boland? Any speakers against the amendment?
Mr. Mayor, I think it's a normal process that when you make changes to a policy, and there are significant changes, that you do go out to 28 days. I don't think it's unfair, especially a council that really wants to be inclusive of the community. Councillor Brown raised concerns around different ceremonies and processes that are complete changes. I mean, it's removing the general manager's role. And I think for all of that, I wouldn't want to bring any spotlight on our council. I think we should, 28 days isn't going to hurt anyone to put it out there. And it shows the commitment we have to engaging our community.
Look, the main changes are the ceremonial, and under the Act, the mayor is in charge in ceremonial, not the general manager. General manager does a lot of things and he shouldn't be put into the position where he's taken on the role of the mayor. The mayor decides the ceremonial functions under the Act. That is specifically written in the Local Government Act. So that is a change that really that shouldn't have been in there in the first place. And I don't know how it actually got in there, but it was remiss of whichever council passed it at the time. The other thing was was talking about Aboriginal things. The change there is there's no major change there other than council will invite welcome to country, etc., without a charge being levied. That is no major change. So they're not reducing that. So a lot of these are cosmetic changes, and I support the amendment.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. I
Councillor
think-
Brown.
Oh.
Councillor Turley, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I might be disappearing. I've got a bit of a cold. So I think you just named quite a few significant changes, and it is under the Act that when we change policies, or when we amend policies, that we do go out and consult our community. It's only 28 days. I don't think it's a big ask that we continue to make sure we abide by the Act.
I'm all for quickening things up. All those in favour of the amendment? Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Boland, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler, Councillor Hickey and Mayor Kennedy in favour. Against? Councillor Page, Councillor Turley and Councillor Brown. Any further speakers? All those in favour of the amendment, which now comes the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Page, Councillor Boland, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler, Councillor Hickey, myself, Mayor Kennedy. Against? Councillor Turley, Councillor Brown. Declare it passed. Adoption of the draft Broken Hill livability strategy. Item number 4. Do we have a mover for that? Move Councillor Turley, seconded Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Turley, you'd like to speak to that?
I mean, it's just consistent with the vision of local government that we make sure that Broken Hill has a policy to support our implementation, to make sure we're an attractive community for people to work and to come and live in our community. So happy to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Turley. Any further speakers on that? Look, I think our livability strategy is a really important one, not just for Broken Hill, but selling Broken Hill to the wider nation. Broken Hill is one of the best places to live. This livability strategy tries to make it a better place to live, and it also highlights the significant advantages we have as a Broken Hill community. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 5. Move Councillor Turley. It's a licence for the public footpath at the deli. Seconded. Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Turley, you'd like to speak to that?
Mr. Mayor, we should be encouraging businesses to grow in Broken Hill, and this has certainly been a successful business. It has reinvigorated the town square, and I know that our staff have worked very closely with the owners of the deli to make sure that there is no public risk, and as such, I'm happy to support this.
So you're determining it to be favourable, Councillor Turley? Yep, for sure. Seconder, favourable? Yep. Any further speakers? Look, they've done an amazing job of reinvigorating the town square. It's also resulted in some of the homeless people that were living around that area to move on. So some of the other businesses are a lot more happy as well. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 6, Local Traffic Committee, councillor Brown. Happy to move that. Seconded. Councillor Boland, councillor Brown, speak to that.
There's not a great deal to report from that last meeting in terms of the recommendations. Some of these questions are still sort of ongoing. I think the main one is the crossing from Concrowley to the Coles Complex Coles Village there. I think we just still looking at that and still interpreting some of those traffic counter figures there.
Thank you, councillor Brown. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 7 is the action list. Councillor Gallagher.
Move that way. As usual.
Seconded. Councillor Chandler, councillor Gallagher.
As usual, it's good looking, very, very good. It's hasn't got much red in it these days, so it's we're progressing well. Good to see that we're making good on our promises.
Thank you, councillor Nolan. Joke, councillor Gallagher. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Questions from the last meeting? We have a mover for that be received. Councillor Page, seconded. Councillor Boland, no comment. Councillor Page? No. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Questions arising on the agenda or questions for the next meeting? No. Public forum session. The public forum session, 15 minutes. We'll consider submissions from the public. Speakers are allowed at this meeting only. Speakers are allowed 2 minutes. Do we have any speakers, Mr. Cools?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you can bear with me for a few minutes. I'd like to suggest, and I think Councillor Allgate and Boland have already said this, when you want the public's opinion about a remuneration increase, I think it should come out in your letter that you put out every couple of months. It's very good. And for that reason, it goes to every letterbox in Broken Hill. And that's the only way I feel you'll get the message through to everybody. But I also feel it would be advantageous to councillors to stipulate, one, the current salaries, if it's not confidential, and secondly, how much in dollars and cents increase you're asking for, because I do feel it's justified. And thirdly, on that point, emphasise to the people of Broken Hill, and a lot of them are pretty ignorant, that you don't just come here and put your bums on seats once a month. That I know I am aware that you put many, many hours of work in outside of council meeting, and people aren't aware of it. If you say we do X number of hours, you know, it'll make more sense to get the survey through and put a tear-off strip on the bottom of it that I think Councillor Boland also suggested, I think is a good idea. Does that make sense?
That does indeed, Mr. Cools.
Okay, thank you. I've got another point.
Yep.
And mine's a question. Councillor Allgate brought it up about the Broken Hill mining model. You said it was about a metre or something. I must have gone to sleep or something. What was you interested in it, and what was it going to be used for?
So just Bob can answer it, but it was just saying that Mr. Jobs who made it. So it was just his name's going to be named after a building out there. And Bob was just saying some of the things he'd done in the past and what was that model.
I didn't know if the model was going to be used for.
Oh, no, we do want that model used at the Geo Centre at some stage, but that wasn't the.
Because I'm aware of a model, and so would Councillor Page be aware of. There is a beauty at NBHC when you go straight in the gates where they used to take models visitors to. It's probably 12 foot long by about 4 feet high. It's an exact replica.
Oh, right. Might have to try and
If
get
you
it.
have a look at that, if you want a model, that's a beauty. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Coles. Any other speakers? Yep. Just if you state your name for the tape.
Denise Hampton, and I'm here just as a representative of our Aboriginal community. Put it down as the Community Working Party, if you like.
Yeah.
But I'm just really concerned just with the item 3 that we just spoke about.
Yeah.
In regards to the reasoning behind such decisions. I feel disappointed that it hasn't gone out for public comment, because I would have liked to had more time with our community to talk about these things, particularly with the traditional owners, the Willikali people. Now, I'm not a Willikali person, but I am a Barkindji person, and I grew up in this area. So I was just wondering around the fees, and we're not here to, we don't do a welcome to country for money, but I think what we should recognise that they are the First Nations people of this, traditional owners of this land in which we're meeting here on tonight, and that, at ceremonies and special functions, that they be given the opportunity to do a welcome, but in saying that, they need to be paid for their services as well. So I feel really disappointed that council has gone that way and decided not to put it out for public comment. But we certainly will be talking about it within our community. I thank you for the time.
No worries. So I can only speak for myself. I'm sure the other councillors are the same. Appreciate the welcome to countries. For me, a welcome is something that's given, not something that's bought. Other people may disagree with that. The reason for my decision is because I truly believe welcomes are very important, and it's something that you give, not pay for. And the reason for my vote, I can't speak on behalf of others, but that's the reason for my vote. Any other speakers? No. We move on to confidential matters. So there is 2 items in confidential. So if people want to stay around after, so could we have a mover to go into closed session?
Move that way.
Councillor Allgate, seconded. As there is no further business for council to consider, I declare the meeting closed at. Oh, sorry, before we do that, the general manager will read out what you're waiting for.
Thanks, Mayor Kennedy. Confidential matters. Item 1, Broken Hill City Council Report number 81/23 dated April 27, 2023. Proposed Williama Common Access Licence to AK's New South Wales Proprietary Limited. Council resolved 1, that Broken Hill City Council Report number 81/23 dated April 27, 2023 be received. 2, that council as trust manager of the Williama Common Trust provide consent for an access licence to be granted to AK's New South Wales Proprietary Limited for the purpose of geotechnical site investigations on part lot 7320 DP 1201053. 3, that the licence be issued for a period of 12 months and the annual rent be $574, which is the current Crown Lands minimum rent. 4, that the Mayor and General Manager be authorised to sign and execute the licence documents under the Common Seal of Council. Confidential matter, report number 2, Broken Hill City Council Report number 101/23, dated May 21, 2023, Civic Centre legal matter update. Council resolved 1, that Broken Hill City Council Report number 81/23 dated April 27, 2023 be received. Two. Sorry, correction, take that. I'll reread that one. Council resolved 1, that Broken Hill City Council Report number 101/23 dated May 21, 2023 be received. 2, that council delegate to the general manager authority to negotiate a settlement within the defined range below for the cost assessment with AJ&C and their insurers. 3, that council note the report, proposed actions and associated attachments. 4, that council proceed with all recoverable actions necessary on a commercial basis as advised by council's legal counsel. And 5, that council thank the general manager and staff for their ongoing work on this matter. Thanks, Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, General Manager. As there is no further business for council to consider, I declare the meeting closed at 8 o'clock exactly. Thank you.